Today, we're going to talk about Ethereum. Did it actually go home? If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the sale on Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. Let's go ahead and jump in. A lot has happened in the cryptoverse over the last week, and so I thought it would make sense to try to take a step back and look at what has happened to ETH and try to make sense of it all, and talk about what we previously spoke about and see kind of how has the market played out since then, and did it actually go home, or does it ultimately need to go lower? One of the things we spoke a lot about back in December, it was either November or December, we talked about how there's been this pattern by Ethereum, and a lot of people would argue that this is not playing a role. I would humbly disagree, but if I'm being completely honest, I feel like I'm reaching the point where I don't really want to argue with people anymore. So if you don't believe this plays a role, then it doesn't play a role. Okay, let's just move on with our lives. But in this case, I would like to say that one of the things that we talked about back over here in December, it was November or December, this article was published November 1st, and this was an Ethereum dubious speculation video. We were pointing out that ETH normally capitulates the month after the Bank of Japan raises rates. Okay? That's what happens, right? Bank of Japan raises rates. The following month, ETH capitulates. Now, of course, every time there's a narrative to accompany it. And this time the narrative was tariffs. I'm not suggesting that tariffs did not play a role at all. What I am suggesting is that the unwind of the carry trade by the Bank of Japan caused the market to be weak, so that all you had to get was a simple tariff headline to then cause this capitulation. If you look closely, you'll see that the Bank of Japan raised rates in March of 2024, and then ETH capitulated in April. The Bank of Japan raised rates in July, and then ETH capitulated in August. And then here, the Bank of Japan raised rates in January, and sure enough, ETH capitulated in February. So I go back to these videos, and I'm like, well, the outcome was this. Now, of course, today, people will say, well, it only happened because of the tariff headline. But regardless, it actually happened. We did get another capitulation by ETH. And here's the key thing. It did, for the very first time this market cycle, it dipped into the lower logarithmic regression trend line, which I previously referred to as home, right? Ethereum going home. Now, there's a lot to unpack here, and I know some of you guys just want me to make like a 2-minute video and just get on with our lives, but I feel like we have to do the topic justice. It's been such a point of conversation for the last few years, and so the question is that enough to justify it? And that's what I really want to try to unpack in this situation. One of the things, in order to understand ETH, you have to understand, you already know what I'm going to say, it's Bitcoin. How many times have you guys heard me say over the last few years that altcoins are oscillators at best, right? Where they, against Bitcoin, a lot of them bleed. The best alts are oscillators at best, right? Over a long enough period of time. If you look at ETH Bitcoin, it's already below 0.0, right? And back when it was at 0.08, I gave a target. I said it could go to 0.03, right? I suggested that that was a theoretical outcome, and no one really believed it. It turns out that that projection back then was too optimistic, right? But we've also said many times that there's not really a clear reason to assume that the bleed is over until quantitative tightening ends. The reason we've made that assumption, or at least I made that assumption, was if you look at the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve, you'll notice that last cycle, ETH Bitcoin bottomed precisely when quantitative tightening ended. So, as QT continued, ETH Bitcoin went down. when QE began, quantitative easing,